Money does not follow the worn paths of the material world. It is not governed by the stock market, economic policies, or the fluctuations of a common currency. In fact, it does not even depend on the job you're doing or the salary you receive each month. Money operates on an entirely different system, an invisible yet impeccably precise system, where the internal frequency you emit is the only determining factor. You may have once believed that you weren't lucky enough, that others were born with better opportunities, that your lack was imposed by some external circumstance. But the truth is always simpler and at the same time deeper. You are not being rejected. You are simply emitting a signal that prevents money from recognizing you as someone ready to receive it. In the material world, people strive harder, work relentlessly, and double their efforts to reach what they believe is financial security. But in the spiritual world, where sacred laws govern, effort is merely a secondary factor. The decisive factor is not how much you do, but what vibrational state you are presently embodying. If you are living with an inner world filled with doubt, fear, and a sense of lack, you are emitting a frequency that causes money to retreat. Because money does not chase anyone. It only arrives when it receives a clear signal that you are in harmony with the rhythm of prosperity. When your financial life falls into chaos, it is not a sentence, it is a report. It reflects with brutal honesty what you have been radiating from your mind each day. Subconscious phrases like, "I'm always broke," "I can never have enough," or "everything is against me." These are not harmless statements, but commands sent out into the universe, and the universe hears each one clearly. Every word, every faint vibration. The law does not distinguish between jokes and seriousness. It has no sympathy, it only has precision. And that is the most miraculous part, because when you adjust your frequency, the law immediately adjusts its response. That means you don't have to beg for money, you don't have to chase it, you only have to become someone who naturally attracts it. Transformation does not begin in your bank account, it begins in your mind. No one becomes sustainably wealthy while still holding on to the same old fears. And no one maintains financial flow while living in constant doubt and inner conflict. Your inner world is the scriptwriter. Money is merely a supporting actor, following the direction you set with your repeated thoughts, words, and emotions. And once you truly grasp this, you'll stop blaming external factors. You'll no longer ask, "Why isn't money coming to me?" Instead, you'll start asking, "What signal am I sending that keeps money from staying?" When that question becomes clear, the answer won't be far. Because the moment you choose to change your frequency, everything around you begins to shift in accordance. The law does not require time, it only requires alignment. And from the moment you step into rhythm, money will no longer have a reason to turn away. It will recognize you, and it will respond, precisely as you deserve. Every word you speak carries energy, not merely as sound or communication, but as vibrational patterns that the universe uses to shape your reality. If you observe closely enough, you'll realize that every moment of abundance or lack in your life has already been spoken by you, sometimes unconsciously. "I'm always short on money. This month, I'm definitely not going to make it. I'm just not the kind of person who knows how to manage money." These seemingly harmless phrases are, in truth, direct instructions you've issued, and the law always responds faithfully, without negotiation. Words are not just descriptions, they are architects of reality. They draw the mold, and into that mold sacred energy is poured, taking physical form exactly as you have declared. Every time you utter in exhaustion, "I'm drained," you're playing the role of commander, and the universe never delays in executing the order. The irony is, people often use their mouths to mirror their current circumstances, as if the truth needs to be confirmed once more. What they don't realize is, each time they do this, they are reinforcing the old mold. Instead of dissolving limits, they're sealing them tighter. Your mouth is not a thermometer to measure your reality, it's the instrument to reshape the entire map of your finances. When you shift your words, you're redrawing the blueprint of your prosperity. I am living in unlimited provision. Everything I need arrives at the right time, in the right way, with ease. Money flows to me as a natural response to the faith I plant. These words don't need to be believed instantly. They need to be repeated long enough for the subconscious to begin accepting them as truth. And once the subconscious aligns, the universe has no choice but to follow. Your words are the contract you sign with the law. Sign it in fear, and you receive limitations. Sign it in faith, and the vault opens. No shouting, no begging required, only alignment. Speak with calm awareness, in full presence, and the law will act as though you've issued a royal decree. Don't confuse true speech with hollow slogans. Words that carry power are words spoken with unwavering vibration, not said to fill silence, but spoken as though you are generating a new stream. Once you understand this, you'll never joke about lack again. You'll no longer exclaim, "I can't afford that." Instead, you'll say, "I'm arranging to receive it." You won't say, "I'm always late on my payments." You'll replace it with, "I'm learning to align things to arrive on time." You won't use your words to drown yourself. You'll use them to construct the world you want to live in. And when you choose words that match the frequency of prosperity, you are placing your hand on the door to financial abundance, not through force, but through resonance. Because the right words need no pressure. They only need to be spoken, and the law will handle the rest. Money is not a lifeless object. It is a living current of energy, and like every other stream in the universe, it only unleashes its full power when it circulates with freedom, trust, and vibrational alignment. When you hold on to money with a mindset of fear, you don't preserve your wealth. You block the very life force that is meant to flow through you and multiply. The universe does not operate on the principle of hoarding. It follows the law of circulation. What is given away in a vibration of trust always returns with greater strength. But not every act of spending, gifting, or investing unlocks prosperity. Only when you circulate money with conscious awareness, meaning you release it with inner declaration and correct frequency, do you truly activate the law of increase. Giving out of fear sends a signal of lack, but giving with gratitude and the affirmation, "Every dollar I circulate returns to me peacefully and multiplies in blessings," is when you open an unstoppable cycle of expansion. It's easy to confuse control with wisdom. Many people call financial constriction being cautious, when in fact it's simply a manifestation of their lack of faith in the law. Holding tight out of fear is an invisible declaration that you do not trust the divine supply, and the law, never arguing, simply confirms. Then nothing will return. Money is like breath. You must exhale to inhale. You cannot accumulate endlessly in your chest and expect to survive. In the same way, you cannot hoard money in anxiety and hope for the flow to continue. That's why every financial action, whether spending, donating, or investing, should not be carried out in silence. Speak to the universe about what you are doing and why. Say, "This money I release with gratitude, and it returns to me in perfect timing, multiplied in love and wholeness." This statement is not meant to soothe. It is meant to program the vibrational frequency of the very act you are performing. Every dollar carries a frequency. When you attach a blessing, an intention, and positive energy to it, you're not just creating a financial result, you're building a spiritual bridge between yourself and abundance. And that bridge can only be sustained if you continue to circulate money in trust, without regret, without hesitation. Circulation is not an act of loss. It is a sacred ritual of wealth building. It's not the amount that determines the result, but the state of being you're in when you release money into the world. Saving is not wrong, but saving with the frequency of fear is the trap that disconnects you from the flow. Don't store money as if you're hiding a secret. Let money live true to its energetic nature, to move, to be welcomed, to return. When you do this consciously, the universe will respond, not just with numbers, but with opportunities, relationships, and doors you could never have imagined before. Because money does not come to stay, it comes to be used, in rhythm, in alignment, and in the spirit with which you release it. And if you let money circulate as a sacred ritual, You will soon find that you are no longer chasing it. You are living within an endless stream of sufficiency. Waiting for results before you begin to believe is the greatest paradox on the path to prosperity. Because belief does not come after, it is the prerequisite for results to be born. If you wait to see before allowing yourself to believe, you lock yourself into an endless loop, living in anticipation, vibrating in lack, and emitting the frequency of doubt. And the law, like a faithful mirror, can only reflect what you are broadcasting. It cannot create what you have not first agreed to internally. In the realm of spirit, everything exists before you see it. The visible is merely the final crystallization of what the invisible has long agreed upon. If your mind constantly holds on to feelings of not yet, not enough, not here, then you are signaling to the universe that you are not ready to receive. And since the law never forces anything, it waits for you to change your signal. It waits for you to act as if you already have, because only when you live at the frequency of what has already occurred does reality begin to shift in order to match it. This is not about pretending, not about faking it. It is a form of co-creation. When you say, "I am living in provision," even though your bank account hasn't changed, you are not lying. You are aligning with a higher reality, one where everything already exists and is waiting for you to step into the correct frequency. You don't need to see it to confirm it. You only need to walk as one who has been given, who has been chosen, who has already received. The feeling of already having is the doorway that opens the flow of every outcome. And this doesn't demand blind optimism. It demands emotional discipline, the ability to choose the right feeling even when the external hasn't yet confirmed it. Because in the operational system of divine law, the signal you send always precedes, and the outcome is merely the punctuation mark at the end of a stable vibrational sequence. You cannot expect a door to open if you have never knocked in rhythm. A rhythm that reflect on the times you've said, "I hope I will have this." Though it may sound gentle, the word hope still carries a trace of doubt. But when you say, "I am receiving," even if nothing has appeared yet, you are declaring an inner truth, and that truth has the power to pull everything into reality. The universe does not respond to empty words. It resonates with the depth of the frequency you are living in. Results are never handed out at random. They are the consequence of alignment. And alignment does not wait until things are visible to show up. It begins the moment you dare to speak, think, feel, and act as if you already have enough, because in a higher realm, you do. You are simply learning how to unlock the door for it to flow into the material world. Let every step you take, every decision you make, every word you speak come from the version of you that has already been blessed. At that point, you no longer chase results, you become the embodiment of them. And results, like a natural reflex, are compelled to appear to confirm what you have already believed to be true. It is no longer waiting, it is living in the frequency of fulfillment. That is the turning point. That is the moment when the law must submit to you. Offering is not an obligation. It is not an act to please the universe, nor is it a transactional attempt to receive a reward in return. Offering, when done at the right frequency, is a sacred ritual, a moment where you affirm your deep relationship with the infinite source of provision. And this ritual, when practiced with full presence, can activate a level of prosperity that no financial strategy can ever reach. Some give from a fear of loss, with a sense of sacrifice, or in hopes of gaining recognition. They give in silence, in doubt, or worse, in emotional struggle. And then they feel disappointed when the results don't match their expectations. Not because the law has denied them, but because the frequency they emitted was not pure enough to open the gate of return. The universe does not count the money you offer. It measures the energy you send with every act. A single dollar given in deep trust creates a stronger vibration than thousands given in fear or reluctance. Offering at the right frequency is not about the amount you give. It's about the words you speak, the emotion you hold, and the intentional energy behind your decision to give. You do not give to pray for something to happen. You give to affirm that it already exists and that you are flowing with it. The moment you open your hand and declare, "I give from abundance and I receive in grace," you are doing more than a financial gesture. You are opening a spiritual gateway. Never give in silence. Never send money without attaching a frequency. Every act of offering must be wrapped in affirmation. Speak clearly to the law. This money I give is a seed, and it returns to me 100-fold, in perfect ways and at the perfect time. Not because you seek to control the outcome, but because you are affirming your belief in the principle of return. And when you believe, the law must respond. Giving is not losing, it is expansion. Nothing in this universe operates in a closed system. Everything that wants to live must circulate. Breath, blood, sunlight, the cycles of seasons all exist because of circulation. So why would you believe that money, a sacred form of energy, could multiply by being held back in fear? Offering does not make you poorer, it makes you larger. Because only when you believe you always have more than enough can you open your hand without worry. And in that very moment you give from such a state, you are no longer someone waiting on the flow, you become an essential part of the divine supply system. You are no longer a seeker, you become a conduit, and a conduit never runs dry. A conduit is always refilled. A conduit always knows what is given with unwavering faith will return, not just as money, but as freedom, peace, and a life without limitation. That is the true reward of offering at the right frequency. You cannot claim to believe in prosperity while secretly agreeing with old stories of lack. And you cannot truly affirm that you deserve abundance if, day after day, you joke that money always slips away from you. These seemingly harmless contradictions are, actually, fractures in your vibration, tiny cracks that prevent the law from responding fully. Inner agreement is not a fleeting moment of positive thinking. It is the alignment of what you say, what you think, and what you deeply feel at your core. When your words go in one direction and your emotions in another, the signal you emit becomes distorted, and the universe, which always responds to the clarity of vibration, cannot deliver what you claim to desire. You say you believe in abundance, yet you keep repeating phrases like, "Money is hard to make," "People like me don't have a chance," "I've never had enough." Each of these sentences is an unconscious contract you've signed with scarcity, and until you break those contracts, no matter how many new affirmations you declare, it's like building a new house on a foundation of doubt. Agreement does not have to be dramatic. It doesn't require shouting or performance. It is the quiet certainty inside you when you hear your own words and feel the truth of them resonate fully. When you say, "I am living in abundance," it is not to convince anyone. It's because you feel that reality operating in the small details of your life. And if you don't yet feel it, you recognize that practicing this new agreement is the most important inner work you can do. Every person is living according to an agreement, either with lack or with sufficiency. These agreements are not formed by logical thought but signed in the past, through what you heard growing up, the beliefs your family passed down, and the repeated experiences that made you subconsciously assume you were not worthy of financial ease. But every contract can be canceled. Every agreement can be rewritten, and you can choose that now, through your words, through your emotions, and through consistent daily action. Pause and declare, "I cancel all unconscious agreements with scarcity." Then replace it with, "I fully agree with divine, complete, and uninterrupted provision." Don't say it just to say it. Say it as if you are signing a new contract, where you are the one in command, where you choose to reestablish your place in the universe's financial system. Because once you agree from a place of deep authenticity, you no longer need to force anything outside of you to change. Your new vibration will become a magnet, drawing in matching experiences. Inner agreement is the foundational soil. Every affirmation, every financial action, every external opportunity will wither if it is not planted on that ground. But once your internal foundation is firm, you won't need to fight for prosperity. You will simply receive it because you are living as someone who has already agreed to welcome it. and the law, as always, will nod in return. Money does not flow to those who merely wish for it. It finds those who embody an identity that money can trust. It's not about how much you do, how much you study, or how hard you try. It's about who you believe you are in your relationship with abundance. If deep down, you still think of yourself as someone who only gets by, someone who often loses money, or someone who isn't good with finances, then no plan, no course, and no effort will help you sustain the flow. Because the law does not respond to desire, it only responds to the vibrational identity you live in every day. Identity is not the outer image you project. It is the story you repeat silently in your mind, the image you quietly hold of yourself. And that image becomes the boundary for everything you can or cannot receive. A person with the identity of lack will always create situations to affirm that they are still not enough. No matter how much they earn, they quickly lose it. They encounter opportunities but can't hold on to them. They are given chances but always feel undeserving. In contrast, someone who has stepped into the identity of prosperity doesn't need to declare it loudly. They live with quiet assurance because every cell within them has already agreed that they are a channel for abundance. They don't need to prove anything, they just need to be present. If you're still holding on to old labels like, "I'm not good with numbers," "I'm not the wealthy type," or "I always have bad luck with money," know this: it's not reality that's limiting you, it's the identity you've adopted that has drawn the lines too tight. And as long as you don't change the label, the universe cannot change the narrative. Because the law cannot exceed the boundaries of the perception you've assigned to yourself. Changing identity is not about making a loud declaration once and forgetting it. It's a process of repeating new words, new images, new feelings until it becomes as natural as breathing. Start with simple but powerful affirmations. I am the flow of prosperity. I am a wise steward and multiplier of wealth. I no longer seek money. I am the place where money seeks to arrive. These aren't just affirmations, they are tools to shed the outdated layers you've worn for too long. When identity shifts, behavior shifts. When you live as one who has already been chosen, the universe begins to treat you as someone who cannot lack. There's no need to strain to prove it. No need to race to hold on. When you become the doorway, prosperity flows through you effortlessly, without you having to chase it. What you attract no longer depends on isolated effort. It depends on the alignment between who you are and what the law is ready to deliver. Don't try to fix the result when the root is still mislabeled. Don't hope for more if you still believe you're only worthy of less. Instead of trying harder to attract wealth, focus on expanding your identity. Because the right identity is not just a key to the door, it is the door. And when you step through yourself, you also step into a reality where limits no longer exist. The law never denies the one who knows who they are. Knowledge without action is nothing more than a refined illusion. You can listen, take notes, reflect, even feel deeply moved when encountering truth, but if you don't consistently put it into practice, the law remains still, silent, and waiting. The law of obedience does not care how much you understand. It only responds to those who dare to live what they've realized, whether in silence, in discipline, or amid imperfection. This is the dividing line between those who merely speak of prosperity and those who compel it to arrive. Obedience is not blind submission, it is the highest form of self-mastery, where you are no longer swayed by fleeting emotions, no longer waiting for inspiration to act, no longer bargaining with yourself about whether or not to trust the law. Obedience is conscious commitment. It is the steady act of doing what must be done, even when no one is watching, even when results haven't shown, even when your mind still resists. Because you know, the law does not respond to momentary feelings, it responds to the rhythm you maintain with consistency. You already know that words hold power. You understand that circulation leads to growth. You've realized that living as if you've already received is the fastest way to make it real. You've heard about identity, inner agreement, and the energy of giving. But now, All of that knowledge only becomes true power if you step into a life of spiritual discipline, where you obey not out of fear but because you have seen the sacred order behind every flow. Obedience is the choice you make every single day, choosing to speak what is right even when your tongue is accustomed to complaining, choosing to give with a blessing even when your mind is gripped by fear, choosing to believe in the return even when the numbers haven't changed, choosing to live as one who is already blessed, even when the outer world still offers resistance. The law doesn't require perfection, it only requires alignment. It only requires alignment. When you are in alignment, you are no longer a seeker of luck. You become the conductor of your own rhythm, and the one who awakens the universe's response. Those who only learn but never act will forever stand outside the doorway, hearing the call but never stepping through. They'll keep searching for more information, waiting for more signs, needing more validation, when the only thing ever required was quiet, steady, trusting action. In contrast, the one who obeys has already decided to live by the law as naturally as breathing. They do not seek results, they embody results, and therefore results can no longer ignore them. Obedience is where all theory ends and transformation begins. No more "I've understood, but I am living this every day." No more waiting for things to operate from the outside, but a sovereign declaration from within. When you step into the law of obedience, all inner resistance begins to dissolve. You no longer ask, "Will this work?" because you are becoming the living proof that it works. You are the answer, and the law, like a loyal soldier, will carry out exactly what you have lived, not too soon, not too late, but at the very moment you stop waiting and begin practicing as if you had never doubted. Because from that moment on, you don't just understand the law, you have become it.